What's going on, YouTube? I just thought I'd let that image sink in for a little bit before I started talking. Now, before I get to the obvious title of this video, there are several things that, given recent developments, I feel need to be addressed. And so I'm going to go ahead and address them. Number one, many of you have heard via community post, but I haven't officially announced it here, at least not in its entirety, that this coming weekend there is going to be a 4-part, 4-part video series called Christelyn Exposed. For some of you, I have given you a hint on what is going to be included in that video series, which includes a total of more than 6 hours of viewing time. It will involve 2 promotional videos here on my main channel. It will involve what I call a prelude over on my alternative channel and across BitChute and Black Avenger TV. And the final largest video will be a video that is longer than the Paris Milan exposure video was, which is in and of itself going to include the prelude that will be released by itself a day earlier than the main course exposure video. Now, this video is going to be released, this video series is going to be released anywhere from between this coming Friday or this coming Sunday. It's really going to depend on the traffic flow to my channel, which brings me to point number 2, or issue number 2 that I need to address. I have noticed within the last 48 to 72 hours that traffic on my channel has been cut by more than 50%. Of course, the same 2 or 3 haters, which are likely black females, one of whom I can imagine I know who it is because she's been stalking me since last summer, always thumbs down my videos. They're still here, along with some of my loyal followers, including those who are now members of my Brian Blogs Corner Club. And for those of you who continue to support my content, no matter what little games, screw tube, as I now call it, make, I applaud you and I appreciate you. Now, I did some research because this has happened to me before in recent time when I had to close down my entire channel because one of my videos from more than 2 years ago was removed on some bullshit from YouTube. But this time I noticed it occurred with all of my popular videos available. And out of nowhere, the YouTube algorithm just decided it was going to stop recommending my videos to more than half of the viewing audience that it had been recommending them to. And upon doing research, I learned that this has happened to several YouTubers, no matter what subjects they speak on, and it's become a wide epidemic problem here on ScrewTube since 2016. One guy that made some commentary on it that has over 500,000 subscribers. He was talking about how there were times when his videos, even though he has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, wouldn't get more than 400 views in 18 hours. And what he theorized was happening was that YouTube reprogrammed their algorithm to only popularize or recommend videos and push the popularity of videos that are coming from YouTubers that have other very popular videos. And so what the algorithm does is it takes the traffic to your channel and it tries to multiply it several times by calculating whatever that number of people are that just come there by themselves to view your video, and then adding several multiples of that same amount of people. So like, say if you have 230 people that come and watch your video, based on that amount and numbers from previous videos that you've made, the algorithm will use that information to try and send you, 3 or 4 more groups of 230 people. So you'll wind up with, close to 1,000 views on a video that you otherwise would, only have like 230 views, for example. That's why you can have a bimbo like Paris Milan, who now has over 100,000 subscribers. But why does she have over 100,000 subscribers? Why does she average now between 30 and 50,000 views a video? It had, she's always on there bragging about what hard work she put into her platform. There are many people on YouTube that have been on here for eons before her, myself included, Tommy Sotomayor included, David Carroll included, hell, for that matter, Cynthia G and Christelyn included, that have put work into their videos and their platform and do not have no 100,000 fucking views. This type of thing happens for really one main reason. It's because not only the algorithm, but the YouTube moderation team has calculated, their analysts, they calculate what channels are going to make the most money for their Google Puppet Masters. And those channels, they program the algorithm to specifically promote. See, I don't believe that this algorithm that just decided that I should go down from, averaging over 1,000 views per day to less than 500 a day, like it was nothing, is just operating on its own, because it doesn't make logical sense. If it's calculating based on the views from my previous videos, which have been averaging between 1 and 4,000 per video, how the fuck does it just out of the blue decide, oh, I'm going to stop recommending to as many people? Because of what? It has no information to go on except the last video that I made and the last several videos that I made that for the last month solid have been over 1,000 views. And most of my videos over the course of the last several months have been over 1,000 views per video and per day. So I believe that YouTube carefully watches certain platforms. And while in most cases they do allow their algorithm to run on autopilot, sometimes those motherfuckers, they tweak their algorithm. They program it. They switch to manual from autopilot to manual, and they specifically program it to do certain things for certain channels. This is why a person like David Carroll has been stuck at just 20,000 subscribers for years. That's why a person like me can never get above 5,000 subscribers. If you actually believe that idiot whores like Paris Milan are where they are because of the hard work that they put into their platform, according to them, even though they are plagiarizing and they are doing the same thing they've accused me and other people of doing, which is stealing copyrighted material, you clearly don't understand AI or the people behind it. YouTube now and their Google Puppet Masters is a business. And anybody who doesn't believe that they manually monitor shit is a fucking fool. For that purpose, this is the reason why over the course of the last year, I have been, as you notice, steadily increasing uploading material on Black Avenger TV primarily, but also BitChute.com. Because I understand that the necessity is becoming more and more apparent for certain content creators such as myself or even a Tommy Sotomayor to find alternative ways and platforms to express ourselves and to connect and interact with our audience. Because just like the industrialists did at the beginning of the 20th century, really at the end of the 19th century, just like, these big corporations do, companies like Google and YouTube are, no matter what they fucking tell you, okay, no matter what little community guidelines they write, no matter what propaganda they push to sell their bullshit ass services and products, they, at the end of the day, are going to try to control and influence the situation. Period. And that's what they're doing, not only with my channel, but so many other people's channels. That's the only way to explain how I could drop overnight from 1,000 views to less than 500 views in a day. And yes, for those of you who don't create content, that does bother a content creator if you didn't know. I have motherfuckers that'll tell me, just keep making videos. No, motherfucker, you don't understand what it's like to create and edit a fucking video. And I don't give a fuck if y'all don't care that I'm not getting to the point. You can unsubscribe from my shit and get the fuck off here. I already had to ban 2 idiots earlier in the day. As I also told y'all, I will talk about whatever the fuck I want for however long I want, because it's my fucking video and I don't give a fuck if you like it or YouTube likes it. Piss off. Okay? When a content creator creates content, okay? When we put work into that shit, it's like anybody else who puts work into something, especially when I'm not getting paid for most of the shit that I am creating. Okay? I'm putting this shit out for absolutely free. And most of it, I'm exchanging dollars for views. Meaning I am expecting to get a certain amount of views and a certain amount of comments, okay, a certain amount of interaction with my audience, when a lot of content creators are doing this specifically just for money purposes. Okay? So when I put out content, when I take time out of my busy schedule, I expect to get results. And what I don't expect is for me to continue to produce the same quality of content, but for me to start getting fewer quality results. That doesn't even make fucking sense. So for those of you who are not supporting me on Patreon and Black Avenger TV, be careful, because one day you may just wake up and find that I'm not here on YouTube anymore. Again, as I said in the past, my goal is to get completely the fuck off of this platform for good, to the point where I don't have to rely on it for views or subscriptions. Unfortunately, like most content creators, I'm not at that point yet. These big tech companies are no different than any of these other monopoly ass fucking companies. Right now, Apple's bitch ass is being sued in a class action lawsuit because they're, trying to force people to use their software in their apps only, to do things on iPhone. And people are saying that it violates antitrust laws. The very antitrust laws, by the way, that were put in place 150 years ago against major corporations like Standard Oil, John D. Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan. The very motherfuckers that started that monopoly shit, that we gonna take over the world. These tech companies are doing it, and most of them, Uber, Amazon, fucking YouTube, Google, are getting away with it. And why are they getting away with it? Because unlike the industrialists of the late 19th century and early 20th century, they're making sure somehow that the government is profiting off of it more than they ever have off of any one of these corporations in the past. We already know and can clearly see that Facebook has been in business with the US government for how long now? That's why they're calling Mark Zuckerberg's little bitch ass to Congress every fucking week. And that's why the government isn't touching these tech companies like ScrewTube, that screw over content creators the way they do, like they did Standard Oil 100 years ago. That's why these little bitch maggots are able to get away with what they fucking get away with. Now, as I told you guys, I have several things that I'm going to discuss. With that out of the way, another issue that I have to address. And see, I know that showing this picture is going to keep a lot of you niggas full, undivided attention, even if you're not paying attention to what I'm saying. As a matter of fact, even though YouTube's algorithm is clearly fucking with my content, it would not surprise me if this video got over 2,000 views because of the avatar and the image in the background while I'm giving my commentary. Which, if proven true, would actually cancel out the theory about YouTube's algorithm and prove that niggas are just deciding to clout chase videos and only look at videos with big booty bimbos in them or some celebrity's name. And if that's the case, that's would explain the reason why the production of my videos or the release of my videos is slowed down. Because as far as I'm concerned, if motherfuckers aren't as interested in watching them, why should I be as interested in releasing them? And for those of you who if you are doing that, and it's not YouTube's algorithm, not for my loyal supporters, but if you are doing that, please get the fuck off of my fucking channel and unsubscribe. I cannot stand clout chasing motherfuckers because they're not real followers. They're like leeches. They're like maggots. Which leads me to the other issue that I need to bring up. People keep bringing up to me in the last week about this Aisha Curry bimbo that is married to Golden State Warriors superstar Stephen Curry, I believe. And they keep bringing it up, I guess, because they want me to make a video on it. Now, going back to what I said about why Paris Milan is so popular, it should also be noted that another reason for her meteoric rise, besides YouTube's algorithm favoring monetized channels that speak, favorite talking points, of course, is because she refers a lot of the time to subjects related to celebrities. As a matter of fact, if you look at all of her, she calls herself a colorist, an anti-colorist. But if you look at all of her videos now and over a year ago, you'll see that almost every one of her fucking videos has a celebrity's name in her mouth. Her community posts as well. So clearly, in addition to being a so-called colorist, anti-colorism crusader, which she clearly isn't, given all that fake up and weave and her name, but that's a subject for another video. What you come to realize is this is another reason why her channel blew up the way it did, and the reason why, she is where she's at, because she's a clout chaser. She deliberately puts clickbait in her titles and talks about clickbait issues. And let me go forward and say here now, if you didn't hear me the last dozen times I said it, I am not a clout chaser. Now, since I've picked up producing videos, there are a lot of popular topics that I have addressed about politics, religion, even celebrities, other YouTube content creators. But one thing you will never catch me doing, whether you realize it or not, is doing a story simply because it's the popular topic to talk about. I don't do that. I have never done that. I will never do that. Every topic that I've talked about, take for example the Cynthia G when she got pregnant by Robert Perkins and it got out. I didn't do that video because it was the popular thing to talk about. I did that fucking video because it was something that intrigued me at the time. Okay? Just like people who want me to make a video about this hideous she-beast that dares to put her face on camera, Crystal Swirls. I have not made a single video about this bimbo. Why? She's ugly to me. There's no need for me to debunk what she says. To be quite frankly honest, I don't understand why so many of you Negroes are upset about this hoe. Because her face, for me at least, negates all of her talking points about black men not being shit. I mean, now don't get me wrong. If a Gabrielle Union got up there talking shit about black men, then, I could focus on her talk. But I can't focus on this woman's talking points because of her facial points, my nigga. So I'm trying to understand why this woman is causing such an uproar in the black sector of YouTube. Even Egypt Dan looks better than this hoe. I mean, what? Why are y'all tripping over this thing that keeps acting retarded on camera? So I will likely never make a video about Crystal Swirls. I won't say never, but it would have to be some pretty extraordinary shit for me to do that. And it's the same thing with this Aisha Curry woman, talking about she wants more attention from men because her husband is getting a lot of attention from women. Not, including the fact that he's the prize. I'm not going to make a video specifically targeting that. Why? Because it doesn't interest me. Okay? Just like I never ever went to see that stupid Black Panther movie, and probably never will. I won't even get it on DVD when it's $3.74 in the fucking, discount, the little discount barrel that they have up at Walmart, because it doesn't interest me. Movies like that don't interest me. Aisha Curry does not interest me. What she said does not interest me. Why? Because number one, she's basic. She's really basic. I won't say she's below basic, but she's basic looking. That's number one. Okay. Number two, because what she said is just a microcosm of what I've been trying to tell you Negroes about these females for the last fucking 5 fucking years. This is why I tell you niggas, excluding you Negroes talking about, oh man, I ain't getting no doll. I ain't gonna get no doll. I want the real thing. Okay. Well, if you want the real thing, go ahead, buddy. Good luck. Thumbs up to you. Good luck to you. Okay? This is why I tell y'all to stay away from these whores. Because they're completely insane. I mean, if you don't understand how a female has mental problems, who admitted to having mental problems, is talking about she's jealous at her husband for getting more attention from women when he's an NBA superstar millionaire that could have almost any woman on the fucking planet, and she's just the nobody who married him. When if the situation was reversed, the reason why she would be getting so much fucking attention and he wasn't would be obvious. Then just set sail like the Titanic, hit an iceberg and sink. Then, man, I'm tired of you niggas that just act like y'all don't get it. Okay, just fucking sink below the fucking waves of the Atlantic Ocean. All right. There's no point in me directly addressing that, even though I kind of just did address it right there. But it's something that I've been telling y'all for how long? So why should I make a video directly addressing that? Now, the other thing that I need to bring up is, as I told you guys, sometime this weekend, sometime between Friday and Sunday, depending on the traffic flow of my channel, which I'm monitoring very closely, now that I know that YouTube's algorithm and possibly some of you niggas are fucking with my traffic flow, I'm going to be releasing the Christelyn Exposed video series that I know a lot of you guys are pumped for. It's going to be released across 3 platforms. However, there's another major video project that was one video, but it's almost an hour and a half long. It's 1 hour and 23 minutes long. And it's concerning black women in Jonestown. This is a story that, number one, after doing research, I simply cannot believe that it did not dawn on me the calamity of not only Jonestown, but how this was not a religious death cult tragedy. This was a black tragedy until now. But it's just like a lot of other things that we've been learning about in history, like our grandmother's generation, like slavery. Sometimes it takes a while, for the information of what actually happened to connect with our brains for us to put 2 and 2 together and realize it's not how the history books tells it or didn't tell it. This is going to be a Brian Solange special that any brother that is like-minded and serious, not only about, supporting my content, but serious about the black issue and serious about understanding that the black American female is not your ally in any way, shape, or form, and has been the enemy of the black community as a collective, really since the slave days, but especially since the 1970s and the advent of welfare programs, the popularizing of welfare and Planned Parenthood programs in the black community. Need to watch this video. Because as I said in the community post, now upon doing research about Jonestown, I realized that literally everything that you see in Black America and have seen in recent times was absolutely included in Jonestown. And what's frightening, I now realize, even in an indirect way, when you think about it, the entire idea and final solution of eugenics was included in Jonestown. Because what you had, and again, I'm not going to give too much away because this is a special that's going to come. I'm telling you guys, those of you who are not going to be here, you're going to miss it. It's going to be 3 days of fire. Black women in Jonestown, the truth about black women in Jonestown. And not just Jonestown, but Jim Jones's church while it was still here in the United States before they moved to Guyana. Okay? And then the Christelyn exposed 4-part video series. This is going to be a fire weekend. That video is going to be released depending on when I decide to release the first Christelyn parts of that video series sometime between Thursday and Saturday. The Christelyn Exposed video will definitely be released no later than Sunday. Hopefully I can get this stuff off as soon as possible. But yeah. But I will say this about Jonestown. They said that 918 people died. Most of them by cyanide poisoning. Some of them by gunshot and other forms of death like asphyxiation. Of those 918 people, 47% of them were black women. Now, they also said that 300 of the 900 people, which is 1/3, a little over 300, were black children. So using those numbers, I estimated, there's no certain number, but I estimated that somewhere around 600 to 650 black women and children died at Jonestown. And when you consider the fact that only 918 people died, that means that 2/3 of the people who died were black women and children. Now, if you throw in there the black men the black men, young and old, that were at Jonestown, what you will get is a very uncomfortable number, especially for these pro-black hoteps, that probably, most likely, somewhere between 700 to 800 of the people who died at fucking Jonestown were black people. What will also be uncomfortable, just like the myth of most black women who were impregnated by white men being raped during slavery, there's a urban legend that at Jonestown, a lot of, or even most of, the people who were murdered, who we now know were black women and children, were forcibly injected with the poison. But like the myth of, slavery and, forced rape during slavery and Jim Crow, this is logically, by my count, impossible. Because Jim Jones only had a handful of armed loyalists by his side. Fewer than 20, from what I understand. There's no way that 20 people could control 900 to 1,000 people unless they had them under mind control. There's no way that 20 guns are going to control 900 fucking people. There's no way that 600 mothers, and those of you who are black women, you know what I'm talking about, who are mothers. Those of you who are white women or any other type of race of woman who are mothers know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. There were claims that Jim Jones's close followers, his true believers, they forcibly took the babies out of the hands of their mothers before the adults were forced to drink the poison and injected the babies with the cyanide. Do you really think that I think that 600 mothers or 600 black women, at least 300 of them being mothers, because there were a lot of elderly people there, 300 black women, some of them clearly heard on Jim Jones' infamous audio tape of his final sermon before the death ritual, the cult, thing he called revolutionary suicide, were as loud and as crass as black women are now, would willingly let mostly white women, because those were his closest loyalists, even though black women made up the majority of his congregation, his closest loyalists were white women and a few black men and white men, would let people take their babies out of their hands and kill them right in front of them. That what you really think? But that's okay, because we are going to go there. We're going to take a step back in history, because I realized two things that made me create this project about Jonestown. Number one, the black women at Jonestown were the first ones to actually mass divest from what they now call Blackistan. And we saw the end result. And number two, in a really weird Twilight Zone-y way, Jonestown was almost like a Planned Parenthood mass event. The very thing that the eugenists like Margaret Sanger, John D. Rockefeller, James Carnegie, and so many others, Henry Ford, Charles Darwin, Adolf Hitler, the very thing that they wanted for the black and minority races, the very point of them creating this program, this system of eugenics from its very inception that evolved into Planned Parenthood, and what do they call it? RU 486, the birth control pill. On a smaller scale, it came to fruition in Jonestown. And if we look at Jonestown as a model of the black community and black society today, and how we allow ourselves to be manipulated by liberals and religious zealots and sexual deviants and, corrupt individuals who don't have our best interest at heart. And we hear these black women talking about divest from the Blackistan that they created. What you can see, again, this is why I call it a twilight zone. What you can see in Jonestown, if you look back 40 years, is what I have been saying is going to happen to the black motherfucking community in the next 100 to 150 years, and it may not even take that long if we don't get our fucking act together as a collective of people and stop letting other people think for us. From the Democrats to Planned Parenthood. The complete annihilation of the black fucking race. And while I don't believe in conspiracies, I will tell y'all something. I will tell you this. I am starting to wonder who Jim Jones really was. I really am. Some people believe that he didn't die at Jonestown. Some people, these conspiracy nuts, some people are saying he faked his own death and he had a double and he escaped through the jungles and that he's still alive now. I don't know if I believe all of that, but when you take everything into consideration, how Jonestown happened from its inception, from its inception to its ending, you really have to wonder who was behind that whole fucking thing. And if Jonestown was a model for something on a larger scale that these eugenists and these other motherfuckers have been planning for black people since the end of slavery. On that note, I would strongly recommend all of you brothers to go and watch this documentary if you haven't seen or heard about it already. It's on YouTube and it's called The Black Holocaust. It was made over 10 years ago by, I believe, this black director, which also narrated it. Very well put together documentary. And in it, it was talking about, the whole history of eugenics, even before Margaret Sanger, and how the eugenics philosophy and theory and program and the books that they wrote, to try and get rid of the black race after slavery and after blacks were no longer a benefit or property of white people, how that evolved into Planned Parenthood and, who the main protagonists were, the main actors in this. And they connected a lot of dots. But it wasn't so much of how well that documentary was made, because at the end of the documentary, which was like 2 hours long, they had a black pastor preaching to his flock saying the same thing that I said. The reason why I don't vote is because I know both political parties have been playing black people since the slave plantation, especially the Democrats, especially them. I mean, how you can believe that the Democratic fucking party is on your side when they run these communities where the police are locking these Negroes up, populating America's prison system with 3/4 of its population, allowing foreigners to come into our communities. How you can believe the Democrats are on your side with that and what we know about them in history, being the party of the Confederacy, being the enactors of Jim Crow. I seriously do not know. I seriously do not know how you do not figure this shit out. Now, in this documentary, and this preacher at the end, who's talking to, people about the problem with eugenics, and he knows the whole history, and he's making a lot of sense, and I'm agreeing with a lot of his talking points. He's talking about how abortions are murdering more black people than anything else. It's taking out more black people than anything else. And I just made a video about abortions. And what you hear in the background are black women agreeing, saying, yeah, brother preacher, yeah, amen, amen, all right now. And this kind of became Twilight Zone-y to me as well. Because given that it was a black male director of this documentary, The Black Holocaust, and it was a black pastor at the end that he showed preaching this anti-abortion sermon and calling out both the Democratic and Republican parties and calling out all the major players, including Jesse Jackson, in, the history of eugenics and how it evolved from population control to, Negro population control into Planned Parenthood and birth control. I couldn't help but notice that in this 2-hour long documentary, even though they showed a clip of a black woman who in the mid 1980s was the president of Planned Parenthood, not one fucking time did the black male director of that documentary nor the black pastor at the end of that documentary mention one fucking thing about black women being the chief conspirator and enabler of eugenics and Planned Parenthood. And one would think, given the term is pro-choice, a woman's choice, you would think that in this entire documentary, where these people are speaking all this truth, connecting the dots, between Adolf Hitler and, all these eugenists that came up with this idea, and some of them went to Germany, some of them actually became advisors for the Nazi party on, how they constructed their idea for the Holocaust and all this other stuff. Yet not one time, they're talking about, the white industrialists and the ruling class wanting to get rid of black people and Margaret Sanger and all these people from Bill Gates to Bill Clinton who helped enable through contributions and signing of laws, um, the idea of abortion in black neighborhoods. Yet now they even called out civil rights leaders and organizations like the NAACP and Jesse Jackson for selling out their own race and siding with pro-choice for their own benefit. Yet not one time in this entire documentary, not one time did they point out the fact that there was only one group of individuals who, no matter how you cut it, just like in Jonestown, were directly, solely responsible for the killing of black babies in the womb. And that is the group of women who are getting impregnated with babies in their womb. They even tried to blame it on welfare. They even had the nerve in that documentary to say that black women were pressured, even in the 1930s and 40s, to sign laws to be sterilized and to have their future children sterilized so they could get welfare benefits. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute. This is how stupid this is. They're blaming all the tricks and tools of the trade that Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood and the wealthy industrialists who turned into eugenists after the Reconstruction era on this. But they don't blame the woman who signed on the dotted line and allowed herself to be sterilized or agreed to have an abortion. It wasn't like in the Holocaust where Jews were forcefully being exterminated, or during slavery where our ancestors were forced to pick cotton. This was something that was by choice done. No matter how much you want to talk about what pressure they were under, and then you have to ask yourself, what pressure are they under now? These females are making as much money hoeing, if not more money hoeing, than they were ever making on welfare. This post that you've been looking at for the past 45 minutes and what it's derived of is a prime example. Yet somehow in this entire documentary, just like David Carroll says about the black pastor and these pro-blacks, which this Negro who made this documentary seemed to be a part of, completely gave black women a pass. And this is how stupid the argument is that, well, they were pressured because they would lose their welfare benefits. And black men, I don't expect black women to understand this. Maybe some of them will. But black men, I'm sure you can understand this. If somebody came to you, say a Bill Gates or a Warren Buffett, someone who you could identify that you knew was filthy rich, and they were carrying a suitcase or they had a check in their hand, they walk right up to you with a banker to verify the amount and that the check was legit. They stepped out of a Ferrari or a limousine. They walked right up to you and they said, I will pay your family $1 billion. They opened up two suitcases. In one, there was a $1 billion check from some, bank in, Switzerland that you had never heard of. And in the other suitcase, there was a loaded 38 or a loaded 9mm. And that rich person looked right at you. You knew they were rich because you knew who they were. They said, I will pay this $1 billion check to your family so that they can never have to want for anything for the rest of their life. All you have to do in exchange is pick up this gun, point it at yourself, and blow your motherfucking brains out. Would you do it? Or even better yet, they came to you and said, I will pay $1 billion to your family if you take this gun and you kill all your children. Would you do it? No, of course you wouldn't do it. But that's exactly what has been happening for the last nearly 100 fucking years in these black communities. With these females adopting and accepting and trading the welfare system for fathers and babies. Now, the other thing that I have to mention, and I really shouldn't say anything because, well, I guess this isn't really giving it away. I told y'all I had several things that I need to mention in this video. And since YouTube is playing games with the fucking algorithm, it doesn't fucking matter to me not to just stay focused on one subject, because it doesn't fucking matter at this point. I personally think this is a very good fucking video with very good fucking commentary, but it doesn't matter to me to stay on one subject because I'm being fucked with. So it is what it is. This is actually a good thing because y'all actually get to hear me speak on several subjects. But another thing that I have to get off, and this is going to kind of be like a prelude to the Christelyn Cares and Exposed 4-part video series that is coming out this coming weekend. A lot of you are not aware because a lot of you do not pay attention when I tell you to sign up to me over on Black Avenger TV. About 3 weeks ago, I released a video that I downloaded from Christelyn Cares' channel while in the midst of doing research for my Christelyn Cares and Exposed documentary, where I caught her re-uploading a video of her trying to set up a live stream during that whole Negro bed witch Rachel Lindsay Bachelorette thing that was going on last year, as y'all recall. The first black bachelorette, the first black swirler who, wound up with a white man at the end of that popular ABC show. And in this video, while she was trying to set up what she called the bachelorette viewing party, you heard and saw the fingers of a very manly black, either African or Caribbean, I don't know, maybe one of you brothers can identify it, voice in the background. And I originally, and I still do stand by after listening to it again, I stand by, given, because you could see she kind of had the camera off to the side and she had like a mural of her channel, but in a tiny little strip you could see her webcam on her laptop or desktop or whatever she was using to try to launch this what she called the bachelorette viewing party. And somebody was trying to help her set up this live stream. And the person that was obviously in her house with her, that she was talking with, trying to set up this live stream because there was something she didn't understand at the time. And why she re-uploaded this again, I don't know. It sounded, and the fingers looked like that of a black man. Now, upon carefully analyzing this video, I've come to one of a couple of conclusions. Either one, this was a black man who was like a tech, from some company that provides, services for, setting up computers or stuff like that was helping her, like some Best Buy Geek Squad motherfucker. Because I do think they make house calls because they drive those little cars around. Or it was a much older, black Caribbean or African woman that was her friend that just has a very, very deep baritone voice that sounds like a man. I've actually seen young and old black women that have very deep, manly sounding voices. There was actually this black female model in the United Kingdom she was very attractive, full-figured woman, but she just had a scary sounding voice. Sound just like a dude, man. I don't know. Or the other possibility is that this dude, this black guy that was This, if it was indeed a black dude, this was somebody that she's in some way or another involved with. And when I say involved with, I mean in an intimate way. Now, why she would upload this on her channel and leave it up, that I don't know. She's so mentally unstable, I'm thinking that perhaps, because there's no point in this being a recent upload, because the black bachelorette, I know she's not talking about the white female that is this year's bachelorette. So there's no reason for the video to be up at all whatsoever. So either it was an accidental upload or something else, I don't know. Who that was in the background, I don't know. Now, what I have done, because I want you guys to be able to judge for yourself, I have taken that video and I have copied the link, and that link is in both the description box and the pinned post of this video. That video is on Black Avenger TV. Some of you who have been paying attention have seen it. Most of you have not. But now you get the opportunity. The link in the description box for those of you who don't pay attention when I tell you to sign up to me over on Black Avenger TV. You get to go over there right now and see it for yourself. And I want you to give me your honest opinion. You can even give it here after watching it, or over there on Black Avenger TV. Give me your honest opinion, because I don't know. This is really strange. And I would not put it past Christelyn that this was a black dude that she's fucking around with. Because here is what is also interesting. Here's what I do know about that video. Whether it's a black female with a deep baritone voice, or whether it's a dude like some computer tech, why she would have a black dude in her house at all, even to help her with something. Well, prior to my research for the Christelyn Cares and Exposed video, it would perplex me, but now it really doesn't. But just for argument's sake, I'm going to say it perplexes me. It baffles me. Because the one thing, no matter who that is in that video with Christelyn Cares in the house, which this is a video that had to be well over a year old by now. The one thing you don't hear is the voice of her husband. As a matter of fact, there's so much air and space between Christelyn and the other person in this video trying to help her set up the stream and the walls of whatever room they're in. You can actually hear their voices bouncing and echoing off of the walls between the open spaces. What you don't hear is the sound of a white man in the background anywhere, and one would think if a black man is in his house, he's going to be right up there with his wife, checking, seeing what the fuck's going on. You don't hear footsteps. You don't hear anything. But simply Christelyn Cares and this black person, who I'm pretty sure was a black dude, trying to troubleshoot whatever problems that they're having for this live stream. Now, of course, we're going to address the whole girl who swirls marriage thing and what so many people, including other black women, have been, talking about. The whispers about where is Waldo in her life? Where's her white knight in shining armor? We're going to address all of that. I'm going to save most of that for this coming weekend. However, I do have to mention, before I get off of this subject, that ironically, when I was reminiscing on that strange video that Christelyn Carson, for whatever reason, re-uploaded today. I mean, a few weeks ago. I saw that she uploaded a video just yesterday of her taking some other so-called divested, swirling black women to this charity event full of what she claimed were wealthy white men. And it was for some charity event. And what is really, it's incredible how black women say that we bash them when they really bash themselves with the stupid shit that they do, the desperate shit that they do. What she was explaining in this video, and y'all will see a community post, what she was explaining in this video was that she was trying to show black women how they could mingle with high society. And what she really meant was, because she also mentioned that she was showing black women how they could get close enough to the penises of white men to give them blowjobs. That's what she was really saying in so many words. Because she was talking about, you can mingle with high society and maybe, find, find a love interest. She actually said this. This is how low this woman is willing to go to a charity event that is likely, a kid's charity event. Because that's what most charity events are, for children. To mingle with people who are there to support and fundraise that charity event. And to go there under the guise that, oh, well, we're supporting this charity event. But while we're here, she showed some middle-aged, heavy-set black women who looked like they just came out of church dancing around with some drunk white guy. And that was her idea of mingling with high society at a fucking charity event. Like a drunken white dude dancing around with some fat black woman is divesting from Blackistan and mingling with high society. When you are so pathetic, you have to go to a charity event under the guise of helping the fundraiser just to get close enough to white men. This is what they do, though. This is what they do. And when I saw this, maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. I'm gonna post some community posts, and I could be wrong because I haven't really looked at the screenshots since I took them. But while I'm looking at these desperate bimbos that are all well into their 40s and 50s, which makes me understand the overall demographic of black women who watch and support Christelyn Carson's content. There's two things that I'm realizing here. Number one, when I'm seeing these black women that are at this event, trying to get close enough to white men and doing what they call mingling with high society. The first thing I'm realizing is, looking at these black women, the reason why these women are so desperate for men is because nobody is fucking them. Because look at them. I mean, and the second thing that I'm thinking to myself is, I see plenty of black females doing what they call swirling. Most of them are young. Most of them are in shape. Now, a lot of them are basic looking or even below basic looking in the face. But they usually fit two characteristics, the ones that deal with even below average looking white men. They are young and they are in shape. They are not overweight and they are not 50, 40, 50, 60 years old most of the time, like the ones that you see in this video. They most certainly are in shape. And, That's when it dawned on me. Black women that support Christelyn, they're not the types that these type of white men that they call themselves mingling with want if they choose to deal with black women. Because you can go out on the street of any major city and see these bad wenches, hand in hand with white boys. Most of them, even if they're basic in the face, they are somewhat decent looking in the body. And most of them are younger than 40 years of age. These are past their prime females who have probably went through half the dicks in the black community, including the preachers. And now they're angry because they're used up goods. They've hit the wall. And they're looking for some white boy to come, some Channing Tatum to come and save their old crusty asses. I mean, this is what you have. This is what you deal with. This is the disingenuousness, not only of black women like Christelyn with against black men, but against black women when you deal with these delusional ass heifers. That being said, I have one other thing that I need to bring up. If y'all haven't fell asleep already, that I need to bring up before I get to the main title of this video. And I'm going to make that short too, because I've had y'all on here for well over an hour. This issue about people on my platform trying to debate religious theology with me. A couple of days ago, as you know, I made a video regarding this black male savage up in New York who burned his own 3-year-old daughter alive. And at the beginning of that video, for like the first 5 or 10 minutes, I sat there pondering how anybody could believe that God is all loving and all good. And I used this story as an example. Now, my purpose was not to, use this to propagandize my anti-religious belief. But I just simply couldn't, as a human being, that's been, fed this crap since I was born. Being raised in a Baptist church, father being an ordained minister. I couldn't help but make the comparisons between a story as horrific as this and the contradiction of Christian theology about how God so loved the fucking world. It defies logic. Why a loving anything, let alone a God, an Alpha and the Omega, who knew not only shit like this, but he knew what humanity would become. And Christians actually believe in what it says in the Bible, where it says narrow is the path and few there be that find it. Which means that this loving God does not only allow 3-year-old little children to be molested and burned to death, but he also knows that a majority of his beautiful creation that he so loves, that he sacrificed his only begotten son for, are going to hell, are going to burn in hellfire for eternity. And only a handful of his creation are going to live to see heaven and go be with him, live with him in eternity. And I will tell you, if you believe that that is what a loving, caring being of any kind, whether it's a mother bear, a human parent, or God would do, I feel sorry for you. I really do. If that's your belief, that's your belief. But it's not mine. And what I'm going to go forth from here on out, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this. I know there are some of you brothers, good brothers, that have donated to me. Some of you are members of my Patreon. You frequented my, my posts before. But what I'm going to do is, because I already had to block 2 people on this video because they were not, it wasn't that they disagreed with me. They were trying to throw little sneak disses at me for not believing in this Christianity bullshit about a loving God. So I had to block them. Granted, they were motherfuckers that, I hadn't seen before on my platform. So they were newcomers most likely. So I didn't really give a fuck about them anyway. But this is what I'm going to ask those who are both veteran and newbies alike that come to my platform and view my content. If you want to comment, please feel free to disagree with me. But do not ever tell me how I should think. Do not ever try to hurl, and I know I don't have to tell you, those of you, at least this part, who are my loyal followers. Do not ever insult me or try to hurl, little snide remarks and sneak disses at me. Disagree with me, and we'll agree to disagree and let it be done. Okay? Also, like David Carroll said, do not try. I do not need you to reinterpret something. Because see, what I notice about Christianity in particular, but really all religions, is it's a convenience. And preachers do this all the time. They will deliberately skirt over certain scriptures. They don't read the whole Bible. If you listen to a career pastor, you will notice that he really only gives the same 20 fucking sermons, his entire fucking lifetime of preaching. He may preach them in different ways and for different time periods, but he really only gives the same 20 fucking sermons, which only accounts for less than 1% of this holy Bible. A wise atheist, even though I don't consider myself an atheist, he once said that the biggest weapon that an atheist can have against a Christian or a Catholic is the Holy Bible. You can systematically and literally beat them over the head with it all day and night long. Why? Because most Christians do not know their Bible. What they know is specifically hand-picked, cherry-picked scriptures and sermons out of the Bible that are deliberately used to manipulate and control what they think and how they operate. And I will tell you right now, that is not going to work on me. Okay? You can't take the parts of the Bible that you like, okay, and say, oh, well, that's clear cut what that's saying. God so loved the world, but then take another part of the Bible and say, where at least according to the Bible now, it says that God created both good and evil, and say, well, no, that's not what it meant. You're misinterpreting it. No, motherfucker, I'm reading that shit the same way I read the shit about him so loving the world and Jesus Christ dying on the cross and all that other shit. Okay? So don't come to me and tell me now all of a sudden, oh, it's it's translated from another language. Okay, well, if that's translated from another language, then all of this shit is translated from another language. Okay? When you do that, to me, you're being disingenuous. So please do not do that. As a matter of fact, I would really appreciate it if you didn't try to interpret anything for me. Okay? This isn't the United Nations. I don't need an interpreter. Thank you. I have a brain of my own. I can read and interpret for my fucking self. Again, I do not have a problem with you believing in any of this stuff. I do not have a problem with you disagreeing with me. What I have a problem with is people insulting my intelligence by trying to interpret something for me that I don't need interpreted, trying to insult me, through sneak dissing, okay? Trying to patronize me, trying to tell me how to think. Do not do these things. Now, for those of you who are my loyal followers, I know I don't have to tell you this, but for you newcomers, don't fuck with me because I have absolutely no problem. I read every comment and I respond to a lot of comments and I like a lot of comments. But the same way I read all comments, which proves I'm not in this for profit. I'm in this for the people who, support my content and follow my content and reply to my content. The same way I positively interact with all of my followers, I will negatively react to you by cussing you out, blocking you, and deleting you. I may not even cuss you out, but you will get blocked and deleted. Okay? Do not try to insult my fucking intelligence. Now, finally, to the butt end of this. No pun intended. Oh, brother of logic and common sense. He made a video yesterday, I believe it was, or it could have been the day before yesterday, where he talked about, this entire issue with black women and where single mothers come from, and he was mainly addressing the talking points of Cynthia G and her hypocrisy, calling out, beta male coons and, all this ridiculous crap that comes out of her mouth. But then she turns around and she gets pregnant by what she calls a beta male coon. Oh, I'm yawning. It gotta be close to 2 o'clock in the morning. But one of the things he mentioned in that, because he actually released 2 videos, all total it was well over an hour and a half long, I believe. In the first video, he mentioned a relationship that he had been in where there was this ratchet female who, among many other stupid things that she did, she sent him booty pics and some other nasty photos of herself where she wasn't holding the camera and she was in her own bathroom. And, there was no way for her to have taken a timed picture because, it's just simply no way for her to have been able to get in the position in enough time and accurately enough to take that accurate of a picture without her knowing what it's going to look like after the picture is taken. See, that's the problem with timed photographs. You don't really know how to get directly in the right position at the right time to do that, especially from the angle that we're seeing this picture. Now, this led me to realize something because he said that this female that he was with had several children living with her. And, she didn't have any adults living with her. And it was almost always when he would see her, it was her and those children. And he brought up a very important question, because that's what he was referring to, Cynthia G, and some other idiot bimbo. Oh yeah, it was the Crystal Swirls bitch. They're always talking about how black men are molesting children. And he made several other references to how black women, both psychologically and really physiologically, molest little black boys. Through the skimpy clothing they wear. He said several times he come there and she was walking around butt ass naked in the house with her children right there in the same room. And so when he, after he got done mentioning all of this, he said when she sent him these pictures of her, naked or bending over or something, showing her goodies, sexting him basically. He took a step back and he wondered, now, if she didn't have time and couldn't get in position for a time photograph, and there's no, she's not living with any sisters, she never has any girlfriends coming over, she's not living with her mama, even if it was another simp, even if it was another Negro, why would he allow himself to take a photo of her that he knew she was sending to another nigger? And he said that's when it dawned on him. After asking the question, he kind of answered it himself. He said, if nobody else is there to take this picture for her, and she's obviously not holding it, as this woman in this picture, and this is a perfect example, obviously she's not holding the camera, and I just don't see a person taking a timed photograph with a intentional pose this perfect, with the perfectly right angle. You would have to run several dry runs to be able to get that right, where you're turned away from the camera where you can't even see it, to see if you're in the right angle, just far away enough, but just close enough, and at just the right angle enough to get that ass shot that these bimbos love to put up. And keep in mind, the female in this post is going to be featured in a video that I'm going to do tomorrow. And as you can see, she's looking for attention because she's talking about summertime when it's listed as January 31st, nowhere near summer. And also keep in mind that this is a female who is in a relationship with a man who is about to propose to her. But nonetheless, that's not the point of this particular video. I will feature the story behind this picture that y'all have been looking at for the last hour and a half tomorrow. What I want to focus on right now is Brother of Logic and Common Sense's question. Very intriguing question that he brought up. If, as in this circumstance, there's no way that she could accurately take that good of a timed photo shot. She's not holding it herself. I could see one of her ratchet ass girlfriends doing this, but your girlfriends aren't going to be at your house sitting on the porch with you all the fucking time. And sometimes these women are in very private spaces like bathrooms or bedrooms when they take these stupid ass thirst trap pictures. And ain't no man gonna be taking a picture of you unless he's reserving it for himself on his own phone. That's a different story. But he ain't gonna be taking no picture of you with your fucking phone, knowing that picture could go out to other niggas. Unless he's just completely fucking stupid. Your neighbor ain't taking this picture for you. So And this kind of goes back to the Twilight Zone that I talked about earlier with Jonestown. Who would be taking this picture for this thirst-a-thought other than one of the illegitimate children that are usually extremely young, like under 12 years old, for her? Who else is with her most of the time? Who else is living in that house? Who else could know just when to snap the picture at the right angle with the right lighting, and not necessarily by their own under their own ability, but under the direction of the person who the picture is being taken of, if they're a small child? Who else is the most likely co-conspirator in these photographs of women who are obviously not out and about with their girlfriends, not with some Negro taking a picture on their phone? Again, his phone would be different. And she obviously ain't taking the picture herself, holding it like those selfies that they do. There's really few other explanations. Now, in this case, for this female thought, it could have been a friend or a relative. But then I think that friend or a relative would be a pervert, wouldn't you say? And that's when it dawned on me. A lot of these females that are taking these pictures, they're having their children, their spawn, likely take these pictures of them. And a lot of these children are not teenagers. A lot of them are elementary school age, maybe even younger. And then you wonder how these Negroes grow up to be effeminate beta male savages. Talk to you later, guys.